Hey, this is AKM from the Dallas Fuel, and you're listening to the Centering.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello. Hello and welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, episode 176, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. The date, September 22nd, 2019. The time, 6:16 p.m. Doing it a little bit early today because some of us have a Overwatch match in about an hour in our Don't Call It a League. So we gotta get this one out of the way so I can just dominate. This will be the best episode ever, as we have our very first Too Soon review, as Anuj and I will dive into Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It was the open beta, quote-unquote open beta, this weekend for PC, so we got to play that for the first time, so we will give our thoughts and opinions, the good, the bad, the ugly. Yikes of the week is today, and we have roster updates across the board in Call of Duty League and CSGO, so we'll just kind of jumble those up, and of course we'll end the show with e-news as always. Before we do that, make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. Our website, tcr.gg, currently under construction, but it will be back soon enough. Don't you worry. Back and better than ever. Join our Discord. That link is also on our Twitter profile. Be a part of that conversation. We love to hear from you. We have some dudes there. They're good dudes to be a part of the conversation with. That's about it. Let's say hello. Hello, my name is Tim. I'll be your host for this journey into esports. But with me, as always, is my best bud, Anuj. What's up?
What's up, bud? How are you?
I'm good. It's a good weekend. It's kind of nice that we're doing this when the sun is up. I feel a little bit more energized. The Lions won
Weird,
today.
because like lighting is awkward in my room. I'm not like used to it. It's just a little different at this time.
It looks good. You actually have a smile on stream.
You know?
That's a first. Maybe that's the.
Okay, Cowboys won, Lions won. You know, what more do we need today?
That's right. It's a good one. We need some TCR is what we need, though. Let's get into it, though, because we have a lot to get into and not that little bit of time, because we spent too much time talking in our pre-show meeting, is what we'll call it, even though it's just us kind of jerking around for an hour before we actually decide to hit record. Because I do have, if you're watching live, I'm in a Overwatch. They don't want us to call it a league. Like Overwatch League, actually, it's the Tranquility Community, if anyone's ever heard of it. It's actually ran pretty professionally. I've also gotten my hand slapped and yelled at for being inappropriate in it, but that's not a surprise to anyone.
No.
The Overwatch League actually, though, told them, like, hey, because it used to be called the Tranquility League, and Blizzard was like, don't do that. So they can't call it a league because they don't want people thinking it is associated with an actual, like, competing Overwatch League. Like, I don't think anyone's going to assume this, like, beer league Overwatch community is in competition with you, but okay, Blizzard, I guess we won't argue.
No point in arguing that one.
Yeah, like, it's not worth arguing with you about it. Okay, sure. It's a community, not a league.
Looks like they're obviously black and white with the policy, at least.
Yeah, go figure, right? Blizzard
Yeah.
being black and white. Who would have thought? So yeah, I have that in like about an hour, so we just want to record, and then that way we can get this match out of the way and move on with our lives. We'll see how it goes. Let's get into our Too Soon review, though, because like I said, the open beta, which is not an open beta, I've tweeted about this.
It's
before.
half and half, right?
Yeah, I don't understand games now where it's like the early access games that are early access for 4 years but make $1 billion a month. Looking at you, Fortnite, and then you have open beta where they're like, join the open beta by pre-ordering. Like, that's not an open beta. Like back in my day, an open beta was I could just download the game, sign up to your newsletter, and I got in. Like now you're actually making me pre-order it, but thankfully I didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, so Friday, Saturday was the pre-order open beta, and then Sunday and I believe the early part of tomorrow is the like true open beta. So
True
now
open.
anybody can go and download and play if you're listening to this.
So we want to give our too soon review is what we're going to call this segment. And we're calling it that because we are acknowledging that this is way too soon to make a sound decision on the game. It is open beta. You know, the pro settings haven't even been set up, which we all know will be solidified 3 quarters into the actual league. So this is way too early. It's all knee-jerk reactions, but nonetheless, TCR is the only show brave enough to critique a game this early. So we will bear that cross so you don't have to. I want to get into the good, the bad, the ugly with you and Nuge on this. We both have had time to play it a considerable amount. We have played everything other than 2v2 because for whatever reason, neither one of us were able to like get into a room without waiting longer than 3 minutes. And let's face it,
Yeah,
if I
it
can't,
didn't seem like it was doing anything.
yeah, like okay, 3 minutes, I'm moving on. Like, I get
Yeah.
it. It's a 2v2 mode. Thank you. But I did play like the war mode. I don't know what they call it, but the big mode, like the 64
Yeah.
person. We played normal quick play. Should we compliment sandwich this? Should we start with a good?
I think we have to start with the good. Yeah, we got to start with the good here because there is good.
There is. I will say my first thing is I love the way it feels. Like I obviously we play on PC, so there's no vibration, right? Like with a controller, you feel that vibration unless you're a pro like me and you turn it off because you feel like it might affect your aim. I'm that. That was my old school pro mentality. But I almost feel like there is vibration in my mouse and keyboard. Like the guns just have some oomph to them, right? Like I love that feeling behind it, and it kind of looks like a battleground, a battlefield game, but with Call of Duty, which we kind of mentioned before, right? Like that's what it always looked like. But that to me is good. I loved the feel of it.
I can piggyback off that because I mean that was the first thing that obviously stood out to me was it just shooting guns in that game feels really good. The scopes, I mean, it just
The sound,
the recoil, the sound. They did a
although
really good job
albeit the
with
sound might blow out your eardrums if you don't turn it down right away. But
opening
that's
volume for
besides the
sure.
point.
No, but yeah, like it felt really good. You're right. Like it just shooting weapons in that game feels nice. You know, everything kind of feels pretty. It feels fairly pinpoint. Um, you know, even movement. I like the quick movement that it has. If you want to sprint faster and a little bit of the sliding, it's not like overkill that like we've seen in some games where you can
Like
feel like you can
in
just
Black
run and
Ops 4, you
slide.
could like slide, jump, slide, and I
Yeah,
mean you
yeah,
looked like a gazelle running. This seems more like a
a little bit more
human slide.
realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that that was number one for me. Is the first thing I noticed was just the gunplay. The gunplay was great. Second thing is like graphically, like it looks really good. You know, like
Yeah.
it. I
This
feel like I know what you're gonna say.
so
Are you
this
gonna talk
might
about like
be, and I'm gonna put a disclaimer on it. Okay, I'm running on an older PC. My PC is pushing about 5 years old. It's probably time for an upgrade, but you know what? I just had a kid, so that will push it back. You know, like a
but you're
month or
still
two.
running what, like a 980 Ti in there?
I have a 980, not a Ti, but just a regular old
Okay.
980. It still gets the job done, but I'm not running it on like ultra settings, right? It's not like I would probably anyways. I normally always drop settings to low because gotta have them FPSs. But and it could also just maybe I'm blind. It's hard for me to see people sometimes. Like it's almost like it's so washed out. Now I'm using a BenQ monitor, not a IPS. Is that what type of
Yeah.
monitor? So like
Yeah.
naturally BenQs, the type of monitors they are, the colors are kind of washed out anyways, and they're supposed to be that because for some games it works. But I almost feel like for this game, maybe not. Like it's too washed out. Maybe I have to play with my color settings, but it's hard for me sometimes to see people.
No, that's not 100. Okay, so when I say it looks good, I'm talking about the environment. Like I think it, like the look and the feel, and the way you kind of break down through the going through the doors, and like it looks, you know,
My brain has not
pretty in
wrapped
that
around
sense.
opening doors in Call of Duty yet, by the
It's
way.
weird.
Like I'm
But
sitting
I
here
do
like
agree.
thinking there's no way out of this room, and then I'm like, oh wait, you can open the door now.
Yeah, and I did have the same issue you had though. I mean, I'm playing on fully max settings, you know, and I'm
Not a big
feel like the
deal.
color it just but it looks good, but I do agree, like depending on where I'm looking at, like I find it really hard to spot people. They do blend into the environment, almost because of the color of their outfit, with the way the lighting is. I mean, there are obviously times where it can be difficult, but um I almost feel like that's the same for all Call of Duty games. That sometimes,
You just got to
people
get
do the
used
quick
to it.
peeks and you kind of learn the angles and where to look. Right now, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off
I
here,
mean, you don't
so
even
I'm
know the
not.
maps. You don't know the spawn
That's the
rotation.
problem,
You
right? So
know,
you're not probably looking in the right spot to begin with. I'm talking about me, at least I'm not looking in the right spot to begin with. So that could factor into that a little bit. But again, the game's a very nice looking game. The guns look really good. The sound is really immersive. Um, so I give it a pretty high rating when it comes to just look and feel.
let's get into a bad right away. And this, I'm going to start this as a bad because I think it's not ugly because it just takes time getting used to it. Because right away, me and you laughed about it. Was the time to kill? It is insanely fast. Like I don't know if it's because in Modern Warfare or not Modern Warfare, Black Ops, like some of the critiques were that people were bullet sponges. Like it's almost like, dude, this is taking way too long to kill. This it's like they went the complete opposite on this one. My very first kill, you get like the default class and you have like a FAMAS with a burst fire. One burst put a guy down, and I honestly laughed out loud. Because you played it before me and you're like, bro, the time to kill is ridiculous. Like it is, you blink and it's done. And I was like, whatever. I'll try it out. No, you were not kidding. It
Yeah,
is really quick. Like you are not going to get those crazy turnaround jumper clutch moments in this one.
for me, it's too quick. I mean, I really right now are too early, too soon review. Right now, do not like the time to kill at all. I feel like it really is taking my like for the game away quickly, because I just don't feel like you have an opportunity to fight back. I mean, it
To
makes it
outgun
more of a
someone.
campy. Well, it just makes the game more campy. If I know I'm going to be out in the open and I do not have the ability to take any bullets whatsoever, my natural instinct then is to find a good spot, take cover, and play more of a battlefield style game. So not only does the game kind of already look battlefieldish, it like kind of plays battlefieldish now. You don't have an opportunity to fight back. I mean, so if you are playing this game in a competitive setting, which a lot of people will be, especially with the new, skill based ranking system that they're doing, you're going to have a lot of sweaty games. You're going to have people camping in windows. You're going to have people just holding corners. I mean, you're not going to have a lot of that full on rotation, running openness from a pug style, right? Like the
Right.
competitive style will be fine. But like the puggy gameplay, it's not really
What
why
is
I
quick
play
play? Like
COD.
what is that? I didn't even notice how
Well, it's
many
a
people
it's a
can be.
combination. So it's like
But like
it's
what are the roster
domination.
sizes in quick play? Because
Oh,
for us, it seems like we could never get into a full room. It was always like 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 and like
if I had to
empty.
guess, it looked like a 10 on 10, 8 on 8, 10 on 10
Yeah.
type situation there.
So the more I played, because I think I got to play a little bit more than you, I got used to the time to kill. It wasn't as much of a bummer for me. Like you kind of learn like you don't have to camp, but you definitely hold an area down. Like you make sure you clear the room before you just continue walking
Yeah,
because you're absolutely right. I mean, there is no turning on unless the person is just missing you. But if the person has any amount of aiming, there's no way you can turn around in this one. Like there's just not it's not possible. It's not possible.
no, no.
Um but I didn't hate it the more I played. Now, I'm only thinking of this from a competitive standpoint because like in the war mode, right? Like the 32 versus 32, like that's just kind of a bit game mode anyways. It's kind of a joke in the sense of like
It's
you're never
Battlefield.
you're never going to jump into that and being like taking it serious, right? Like do you ever
No,
jump into a
yeah,
Battlefield game and honestly get pissed about it? Like no, it's just you
it
just
is
do
what it
your thing.
is.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is what it is. Because there it's like people can spawn on your squad. It's Battlefield. You can spawn on your squad mates, all that. It's if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, that's what the competitive mode's for. Now I will say too, this is a too soon review, and we don't know their schedule. I love Call of Duty, but I hate casual mode on it. Like casual quick play to me is garbage. There are already things that I'm like, this has to change for the pro playlist. And so they have to release to get me to play it, they have to like promise that they're going to release that pro playlist early. Like they
Not like
can't
Black Ops 4 style.
yeah, like
I think
release it
it's
like
coming out next. Well, it comes out next week for Black Ops 4, so we'll finally get a chance
release
to
it
jump in.
7 months into your game's lifespan of a year, right? Your game's out for a year before you release a new one. Just do it 7 months before. Uh, no, like Black Ops 4 was a joke. Like me and you really enjoyed it, but again, hated the casual mode where it's like, oh, here's a guy with like a shotgun that shoots fire at me. Like, and it kills me from across the map, which there's already a shotgun in this game that was doing. Like, a dude was sniping with this shotgun. It was ridiculous. Um, so already, like, for me, it's like, okay, you, and I'm not blaming anyone for catering to the casual gameplay. Like I understand that's where your bread and butter is, right? The majority of the people who are playing this are playing it to be casual. They're not playing it to go pro. But that being said, you also have to cater to that competitive set where, you know, for the love of God, adjust the UAVs. I felt like nonstop there was a UAV going on at some point in the game. Like all the time.
Well,
Like all you hear is enemy UAV up, friendly UAV up. It's like, dude, I just want to run around the map and actually like
and
try to
part of it
get
is
an
there is
angle.
no map in the game. For people that don't know, there's no mini map, so UAV is the only way you get your mini map up. And so I think that the fact that you can get that so quick is supposed to kind of make up for that fact that you have no mini map
But see, I
throughout.
guess I'd rather just have no mini map. Like I'm not anti mini. I for me, if you want my opinion, there should never be a mini map. It should only be like if you're playing like a pro mode, it should all be based off of communication. There should never be a mini map that shows the enemy on it, in my opinion.
Yeah, for the for the competitive side, I
Right.
agree. Um, another thing from the competitive side that is going to be interesting is the elevation changes throughout the map. So like you have a lot of two-story. You can like get into every building. It feels like in the game. I don't know if that's accurate or
Lots of
not, but I feel like
barrels.
there's a
Like have you noticed like there's a lot of boxes and barrels you can jump on to get to
yeah. You can
places?
climb up and
Yeah.
either get into a window or just hold a higher
There
angle.
were a lot of
The,
moments where I died and then I saw the kill cam. I was like, you can get there? Like, I had no idea.
it'll be fun to see how the pros play that because again, this game's going to be played using controllers. So with the elevation changes, like that's pretty OP just because it's hard to obviously lock onto people when you're using a controller, like doing quick flicks over to somebody. So I mean, there's things about this game that are very different than what we're used to in traditional COD. I think people are going to have a really different experience, and kind of leading into the pro league, I think it's going to be really hard to anticipate who's going to be good in this type of game. Like I
Yeah.
think it's really going to feel very new to a lot of them. And I mean, you've seen some of them stream it. If you haven't, turn on some of the streams, you'll see them going. They're very good still. Okay. So don't worry. You're
It's
still
not
going to
like
get a high
it's it's not
level.
like, oh, time to kill's low. I guess I'm instantly like Clayster now. Like it's not you're still having like yeah, no. It's not that bad, but it's I don't know. What one of the nice things about it for me though is the fact that they did completely eliminate the classes. It's based off your loadout. You don't have like abilities or ultimates or anything that gather up through time. To me, I love that. I'm so over class-based shooters like Rainbow Six, how it's like you took a natural shooter and then yet gave people abilities the old Call of Duties. I hate that stuff. It gets so old to me now. Um, so love that they got rid of
I
that.
don't like it also because there's also like tends to be one or two really good classes
The
that people
balance
gravitate
updates,
towards,
right?
and
Like,
so it makes it really difficult because you go away from the gunplay and you start having to just balance like characters, and so this way, this game, like like kind of we mentioned, it's all about the gunplay in this game. I mean, the
yeah.
guns are gonna look and feel great. There are so many attachments, so they can't GA everything. So I'm really curious to see what makes it into the pro league and what they
I'm
say.
curious to see how the pros also play in the sense of like in Black Ops 4, it was very easy to rush someone and like slide and jump over them and melee and do this ultimate ability that ground pounded or like it was very you could get from point A to point B really quick. And in here, I feel like I don't want to say campy. We'll call it more strategic moving. Like I don't you feel like the maybe not. Maybe the pros will learn to play it differently, but right now I feel like it's going to be a slower pace Call of Duty.
In the quick play game modes for sure, because it is campy in the quick play game modes. There's 10 people on the other team looking at you. So
Right.
if you're going to try and rotate, you're gonna die before you make it
Well,
anywhere.
I mean, you
Somebody's
and me played
holding.
that one team deathmatch where the other team literally stood in a building the entire game.
Yeah, yeah. They held one
Like they
building down and
never
just.
left that building. So
Do you think
I,
the GA is gonna be like the gentleman's agreement? So when we say GA, guys, we're referencing the Call of Duty Pro community. They will make their own agreements for overpowered weapons or
yeah.
tactical abilities,
Like
things that they just do
you
not
have the pro
allow.
ladder rules that the developers will make, and then on top of that, players will be like, yeah, well, we still think this is a dumb rule, so don't use
This
this weapon.
and this applies to like weapons as well, like in games where there's operators, it applies to them. So I'm curious to see how the gentleman's agreement works now with this new league format. Like, is the league gonna hold additional rules on top of the developer, although they're obviously kind of one and the same? Um, or will people kind of throw all that out the window? Like, hey, that
Yeah,
you're like
I'm not a fan of gentleman agreements, anyways, and we all know that. Like, if I was a pro and you came to me before the match and said, "Hey, can we just do this gentleman's agreement not to use this weapon?" I'd be like, "Hey, can you like f off because I'm
yeah,
gonna
but
use
would
the
you
weapon."
say that? Okay, so if they came up to you before a match and said that, of course, like you'd be like, no, like especially if it's a gun that you like using. But let's say before the league starts, a captain from every team or a representative from every team and comes together and now they've made a rule in the your favorite weapon, just Tim's favorite weapon, is not allowed because people deem it to be unfair. Well, as somebody that's on a pro team and is fighting as this is my job. I wonder how they handle that situation
And
because
that
it
well,
is a
and
little
that's the other
different.
thing, right? It's like, guys, no way. Like if the league is deeming it okay, then let's do it. Almost think of it as like a performance enhancing drug in like football, right? There are a list of drugs or medicines or whatever over the counter stuff that you cannot take. And on the flip side, there is a list of things you can take. It's not like there's an agreement to be like, "Hey guys, I know they said you can do this drug, but let's not do it." Right?
Let's not do this one.
Let's not do this one as gentleman's agreement because it's still too good. Like no, players are going to use that drug. To me, it should be the same thing. If you have to have a gentleman's agreement in a professional league, I think that's something that a players association, which I think should be like, you know, number 1 that the players try to get done, should go to the league or like you said, each team has a captain that can go to the league like, hey, you're in the chat with the league officials and say, hey, majority of the captains think this should be a rule because honestly they're the ones playing it, right?
Yeah.
Like they will know what is being ridiculous or cheaply abused before any of us because they're playing a different game than we are. So I think
There are.
that's something that should be the player's decision, but can go to the league and say, look, this should be a rule.
The problem is there's only 12 teams now, right? So in the past, where if something didn't work out with your team or it just wasn't going well, you could get dropped. You'll get picked up, maybe not by one of the best teams, but there's enough teams in Call of Duty in the old circuit to where if you were good, you were going to remain on a pro team of some sort and have an opportunity to compete for all these open tournaments. Now it's 12 teams, man. I mean, there are going to be some amazing players that are not on an active roster or not starting on a roster come the beginning of this league. And so if I'm a player and you're started talking gentleman's agreement, well, I'm fine with it as long as it's not a gun that I like to
Like,
use.
I'm fighting for a
You know,
spot
like
here. Okay, I
this is
can't.
my spot. Like that.
Before, and we'll get into it when we talk rosters. Before Anuj, it didn't matter if there were enough teams. You could always just go make your own and
Yeah,
sign up. Your points followed you around, right? This old Call of Duty point system followed you as a player. They didn't follow your org. So it's like it didn't even matter, right? You could just go make your own team if you didn't agree with something. So you're absolutely right. The fact that with little teams, little roster spots and everything, like there's no room for a gentleman's agreement anymore. So that's something that with this Call of Duty, with any new Call of Duty, they're gonna have to figure out sooner than later, especially now with the league, right? Like you can't take your time like I felt like what they did with Black Ops 4 and really never establish the rule set until like halfway through the season. And then they finally were like putting out the pro ladder in the game, and it's like just put it all out at once and then go from there. Make updates as it comes along, and go from there. Again, to cap off the Toon Suit review, I had fun. I don't know if I love it. I'll have to wait. Think Things need to change. Like right now, I
that's
will tell
how
you
it.
this. I will say this. Gun to my head, I'm waiting for the holiday sale. I'm not gonna buy it at $60. It's not worth a full cost for me at the moment. Now, if they said, guess what, the pro ladder will be out day one, okay, now you have my attention. But if I have to sit there and suffer through UAVs every 10 seconds and all this cheapo crap that Call of Duty throws at me for the casual, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you, except for the fact that I already pre-ordered it because I want to play it. So I'm an idiot. I shouldn't say an idiot. I'm going to play it. I always play these games. Now the question
Well,
is
you know
how
me, I'm gonna buy
long.
it too.
Yeah,
No
how
doubt.
long do I play it for? Right? Am I still playing by the time that Tim has bought the game? That I don't know. But for
Maybe
now,
that's a strategy. Maybe you buy it, play it, get sick of it, and then I'll buy it, and you'll be like, "Oh, I have a reason to play again."
yeah. By then, I already
Right
have
there,
some guns and all that ready to go.
extended
Yeah, no, I
shelf
mean,
life.
I'm gonna be very interested to see what kind of updates they make maybe before the release of the game. Maybe they take some of this community feedback, and I don't know the overwhelming sense of if everybody kind of feels this way, but these are some of the things that I've heard too. Kind of just in terms of on Reddit and other social media outlets. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what it is. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's a little early to tell. Like it, don't love it right now.
But what's not too early to tell is what you should be doing with Thrive Fantasy. You should be downloading the app, and when you register your account, use the code TCR at sign up. That will give you a sweet $10 for free when you yourself put in at least $10. Then you can turn that into extra money when you bet responsibly. You can bet on any major sport, football, baseball. You still got a little bit of time there. They're going to have playoffs too, so I guess you could always bet on the playoffs. They have esports, League of Legends, Dota, Counter Strike. I bet you they're going to get not CWL, but the CDL going in now with that getting started. That is Thrive Fantasy. Again, THRIVE as your code will get you a free $10 match on your first deposit with a $10 minimum. Let's get into our Yikes of the Week as we do every Sunday, or I guess Monday episode. We record on Sundays, but it's really a Monday episode. I have two Yikes of the Week, so let me get my first one out of the way if you don't mind, Anuj.
Go for it.
And of course, for new listeners, this is moments of the week that make us just go yikes. Get it? It's called Yikes of the Week. Overwatch World Cup revealed their jerseys this past week. And I gotta say, yikes. Yikes.
Now, I haven't seen them, so what do we not like about him here?
The fact that someone got paid for them. That's what I don't like. Or maybe the issue is that they didn't pay someone for them. Maybe that's honestly the issue. They are so generic, so cookie cutter. Half of them are literally the same. Like Canada, Austria, I'm looking at them right now. Denmark, Canada, Austria, Hong Kong, Japan, Latvia, Peru, Poland, Singapore, Switzerland, all the same exact jerseys, just with like different country initials on it. It's like they're the laziest design I've ever seen. And for Blizzard to like try making this like a big deal, like you can buy these jerseys for $60. Why anyone would buy them though beats the hell out of me because there's no soul in them. It's just such a cookie cutter.
It looks like a marketing jersey that they would just like kind of give away
Like,
at
did
one
you
of
look
these
it up?
events. Yeah.
Yeah, like it just looks so generic. And it's kind of always been my beef, even with the Overwatch League. Like, you have a chance here to be really unique with these jerseys, and yet they just they dropped the ball. I mean, that's really, they're so generic. It hurts.
I mean,
So
it looks like FIFA flags. Like the real,
yeah,
you know, they're just real basic.
they're real basic. And like I said,
They're
it's
real
not even like
basic.
when I saw a few, like, like you see Mexico and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, those look pretty cool, or even like USA. But then it's like when you realize that, like, wait a minute, USA looks exactly like Russia, but with maybe a slightly different shade of red. And then like all of like the red and white countries are literally the same jersey. You're like, okay, this,
Oh, I'm buying an India one.
like,
Just
look at
kidding. I
Mexico
like
and
them.
Italy.
This is
They're
no longer a
literally
yikes for me. They have an India flag. I'm
like
in.
Mexico
Sold.
and Italy are the same jerseys. The same exact design. Like color wise. All of them
Well,
are the same design.
they're all the same.
Yeah,
Like
they're all the
they're
same.
all the
Like I said, they
same.
literally designed
There's no
one jersey.
uniqueness to it, but
They designed one jersey and then just replaced the different colors and the letters on
and the
them.
lettering. Yeah, yeah,
Now it's not like
yeah. I
previous
mean,
World Cups were any better, but you just thought with, like this is
this
like the
shouldn't be a $60 jersey.
no, this is like the third or fourth World Cup now, and we're gonna do our big Overwatch League preview next week and things that we want to see change for next year. But that's one of them. Is like Blizzard needs to let teams be creative with their stuff. And maybe use this for the countries that don't want to design their own jerseys or can't afford full custom get outs. But it's like, come on. You can do
Don't
it.
they have alt for stuff like this? Like, aren't they
You would
partnered with
think
alt
you would
for?
you would I mean, that's Overwatch League though. World Cup is separate. But they need to let teams be more creative. Like, you have this going on it now. Like, I don't know. That's one of my yikes of the week. Zen in our Twitch chat says he agrees with me. Thank you, Zen. Knowing that I have your support is the only thing I need.
I'm keeping my yikes within the Overwatch
Also, Spain's jersey
community.
looks like you could wear that
Oh,
and work at
we're not done.
McDonald's.
We're not done. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just I got to close out the tab, Anuj. But Spain does look like that is a McDonald's t-shirt. So we're going to leave it at
Go
that.
to it.
Continue with your yikes of the week.
Lord. So yeah, I mean, my yikes unfortunately does stay in the Overwatch League. It sounds like we're bashing on him here, and we are.
I feel like yikes of the week might as well just be named to Overwatch yikes of the week. 'Cause it's like every time it's something to do with Overwatch.
Look, this is like my yikes of this week, and it's going to be my follow-up yikes for next week, just to confirm that my yikes for
save
this
it for
week
next week.
is on point. No, my yikes this week is they just announced Zed. Zed, an incredible DJ, like an amazing, amazing artist and talent, and he is going to be performing for us, which we'll be attending next week. So for those of you that don't know, we are attending Overwatch League next week. We'll be out in Philly. But yeah, Zed is going to be the performer. And this is not so much directed only at Overwatch League. This is all of esports. Why do we keep doing musical acts? Okay, it's not about the artist. to me, it's not about the artist. You could get Tupac to rise from his grave and come to an esports event, and there is a good chance that the crowd will still not know how to act when he's on stage. And this is not me saying, "Oh, look at all these nerds at this event. They don't know how to be at a concert." No, these people are not here to see a musical act. Do something original in a halftime event. Like put on a show. I mean,
You
like
know,
in the sense of
when I was at the Overwatch League finals last year, not I mean they had DJ Khaled, which was horrendous. But what they also did at times, they had like the Brooklyn Net dancers come out on stage and like do like a gymnastic bit, you know, like not cheerleaders, but like the actual
I
like.
know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Not like the greatest thing, but I could at least watch it. You know, like wasn't the worst.
Well, like they have the guy come out and he's gonna like, use 10 bowling pins and juggle them all. That's not what I'm even necessarily talking about. Yes, they could go more the act style in terms of like putting on some sort of performance and of that sort. But they also have an opportunity to be creative of some sort of maybe like cool like player montage, something different. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
like something besides a musical act. They always come across incredibly awkward. You feel bad for the performer because it's you. I mean, in this case, it's a very high profile performer, and the audience is not really going to be into it. And I just know that because we've seen it over and over and over again. And then that's what gets talked about versus the performance itself. And so, look, there's going to be a tweet from Slasher. There'll be a tweet from Richard Lewis and Thorne within 30 seconds of that act going live. I'm calling it now. And so, definitely my yikes of the week. Be creative, guys. Do something new. It's not about the performer; it's about the performance, and it just doesn't go hand in hand with an esports event. It just doesn't work.
We'll see. We'll see it next week. I think he's actually kicking off the event too, so it's not even like a halftime thing. It's like
Even
early
better.
on, like it's kicking it off. My other yikes of the week comes from Cloud9 as Mango. Oh my god, what did I just click? Um, Mango. Let me pull this up here real quick. I actually just clicked something here. Is competing in main stage, the Smash tournament going on right now this weekend. We'll talk about it a little bit next week or our next show, I should say. Hint, hint on the surprise. Um, but Mango's playing Army on the main stage, ends up four stocking Army, going up 1-0. Now, four stocking, for those who don't know, means he beat him 4-0. Like, so you have like lives in melee. And getting four stocked is pretty embarrassing, and even more so when you get four stocked on the main stage. So Cloud9 thought they would be funny and tweet out, basically saying, "Ooh, four stock on the main stage, right? Yikes." Well, that only works if Mango goes on to win the game. Army comes back and beats Mango 3-2.
Even better.
And it made it even better because Cloud9, they're social media guys. They're whoever does their Twitter account is he's good. He took it in stride, and like he pretty much retweeted that tweet making fun of Army, saying like, "Oh, this did not age well." Like this was a cursed tweet. I think is exactly what they said. But I just saw it and I was like, "Oh boy, that's not good. That's not good." And Mango actually was already out of the tournament. He wasn't even playing that well, but
Cloud9 finds a way in every esport to make their own,
just to
getting C9.
completely blow it. Boy, if that ain't the truth. If that ain't the truth. Those are our yikes of the week. What are your yikes of the week? Let us know in our Discord. If you are not in our Discord, feel free to join it. You can find the link on Twitter. Um, we actually talked about it last week, but we did create we kind of updated it a little bit. There's sections on there now for like self promotion and stuff. So if you have anything going on in your area that you want to promote, feel free to post it there as well. Let's get this done real quick. I don't have a whole lot of time, so we'll run through them. Everything that you need to know for the CDL and the CSGO roster updates. Let's start with the Call of Duty League. Real quick, Anuj. Now, none of these are official yet. It's kind of all like some of the teams have announced stuff, but like it's got to be waiting like league approval, which I don't really know what that means. Like,
I'm sure teams want to do their own formal announcements, so they just don't want people tweeting it out. But you have a pretty good idea of where some of these guys are landing up, and Obviously, this is the first time we're seeing a true full blown free agency, right? Like everybody is just available. You can team with whoever you want. You can put together a dream team, or you can play with your friends. I mean, whatever your goal is here. And so, we do have some breakdowns. This is from the COD Intel Twitter. They do a pretty good job of posting accurate leaks. We don't know who their sources are, but again, just going off of history, they seem to have their stuff together, and we can reliably use them for now. And we'll confirm all of these as obviously the teams announce them. A couple ones that stood out to me, big ones. Obviously, I think everybody was looking, what is Hex teams going to look like, right? Like, who is he going to get? This is part of the Chicago NRG organization. Um, no shock, the names that are announced for him are several former Optic players. Scump, being the headliner here, along with Formal. Formal, they won their what? That was Scump's first Call of Duty championship 2 years ago.
Yeah, two. I think.
So
Yeah.
it was before World War II. So what is it? Infinite Warfare, I think, is what it was, or
So that would have been
whatever it was. It
three
was, it was
years
the one before
ago.
modern or World War II.
Yeah.
So he is with Scump, Formal, Gunless, Articus, and Envoy. Um, Again, that's a strong lineup. I mean, all of these players have seen a high level of success. I think another one that really stood to me is our very own, like Dallas says. I was very curious to see how Mike was going to approach this. It's a little different for him than Overwatch League because this is his baby.
Well,
This
he
is where
knows
he
it, right?
grew up.
Like,
This is
not
yeah,
saying
this
he
is
doesn't know
him. Like
Overwatch, but this is his wheelhouse.
a lot of these players were still very active when Envy was like just a Call of Duty organization. So he's coming in with what looks to be a really interesting lineup. I mean, headline it again. This is a headliner from Clayster. Clayster coming off of two titles last year, including the main World League Championship. Along with Ian Crimsix. That's an interesting match because we knew Crim wasn't going to be playing with Playster or Scump going forward. So, those two on the same lineup, two
And
very veteran savvy players. So,
Clayster somewhat makes sense too, because he lives in Austin, which isn't terribly far from Dallas. It's about three,
yeah,
4 hours away, and so I mean he's still close to home. He's close to friends. Like I live in Dallas, and me and him are best friends. Like we play together all the time. I have video evidence of that. So that makes sense that he would stick in Dallas. He actually said, he was like, Tim, I'm thinking about signing with Dallas. What do you think? And I was like, Clay, Clay, buddy.
I got I
I
got
think
an
it's
extra
great.
room, bro.
Yeah,
Come on over.
stay with
Yeah.
me, and my wife. We just had a kid. I can move the kid out of his nursery. You could stay there. It's okay. So that I'm excited for that. If that is a thing, we'll definitely have to get Clay on the show then, if that's the case. Maybe even have Mike on the show as well. Might actually bump into him next week at the finals. Maybe ask him about this. Be like, I know we're at the Overwatch League finals, but no one really cares about the fuel right now. Can we talk about Call of Duty? Like, you guys went on a 12-game losing streak for Overwatch. I don't care about that.
Other rumored players along with Clayster and Crims on that team are going to be Puke, who was on the team previously under the Envy title, Illy and Shotties. I think another one that stood out to me was Immortals lineup for Los Angeles. This is the former Optic team that got awarded the Los Angeles location. This has TJ and Dashi, two veteran players from, I say veteran players, two people that were teamed together previously with Optic here in this last go around. And then Slasher and Kenny, who are coming from the 100 Thieves roster, and then JCap. And JCap getting onto that roster is like huge. I didn't know where he was going to fit in because he had kind of been on bench here
Yeah.
ending up the last season. So for him to get onto this team, I think is super impressive. And then
Seeing some of these rosters too, like it's interesting to see because we've never really seen like true free agents. Like this was like truly you took all the puzzle pieces, right, like out of the board and just dumped them all out at once, and then told people to go in and pick them, right? Like create your own puzzle. And like you've never seen this before, like even in like traditional sports, like never. You have like drafts that you always go through, or things like that. But to have like a completely west free agency, it's interesting to see like some of these guys on why they chose. Like some of them you heard like they want to play with friends. Like wasn't Crimsick and Scump just kind of over each other? Like wasn't that a thing? So
Yeah,
like
so Karma, yeah, like Ian and Scump weren't gonna play together, I believe, or
yeah,
is either
and that was
or
like always
Scump
something.
and Karma,
That's
one
kind
of
of
the two.
interesting because it's like you see these guys play with each other for years, and you're like, oh, I guess they really just when they have an opportunity to not play with each other, it's interesting to see them doing it. It's interesting to see like some of these teams like Dallas who had a team in CWL. You would think that okay, they're just going to kind of go after who they already have, but clearly, given the chance, Mike is like, no, like I'm going to go out and you
Try and
know
get the best people that I
try to
can.
get
Yeah.
the best guys. Like it wasn't like looking over his own, right? He was like, well, I want to take care of my guys first and then go from there. Like with Overwatch League, that's what he did. Literally signed his entire Envy roster and made the Dallas Fuel, and then slowly, took pieces out and replaced them. Here, it's like you have these teams that were recently in CWL and just
And a
blowing it
lot of
up.
history, right? Like there's a lot of players in here that all of these guys are very well aware of their past, their, what they've accomplished. A little different coming from Overwatch because it's still kind of new in the sense, only a couple years in. But yeah, like it was fun to see who was getting screwed, who was making rosters, who was playing with who. I think there's still a couple of teams I want to make sure I know we're getting close to having to jump into CS here. Three other rosters just to mention, because Simp has been the all-star from last year. He was two-time MVP. Um, coming from E United, he will be on Atlanta's roster, it looks like, and his girlfriend kind of accidentally confirmed that on stream. Also, is pretty funny moment
Women.
there. So yeah, Simp, Abizi, Priesta coming from 100 Thieves. So that lineup is going to be formidable. The most New York lineup you could have had to have Zuma on it, the Italian god. I mean, him playing with attached temp, accuracy, and
Right
zero.
at
That
home.
seems perfect for that roster. And then, last but not least, Seattle's roster. Seattle's made up of a lot of veteran savvy players. So this is going to be the most interesting one to me because I don't know how Octane, it almost feel like he got pushed aside. This doesn't seem like the natural roster that I would have seen him go to. Unless Enable convinced him because Enable and him were teammates on 100 Thieves, but you have Octane, Enable, you have Slack, Karma, again, several time champion from
What roster is that
Optic
going to be?
Seattle, and then
Seattle. Okay.
Apathy. Apathy again, another guy that's won several championships. He's won them under um, Envy's lineup. I might have won one under Evil Geniuses if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah.
again, another veteran savvy player there. That team is by far like the old man leagues group right there. If they can be consistent, and I mean, I think they would have the most level-headed team, I guess you could say, just because of that. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what we have right now. There are some other rumors going on out there. I think we're better off maybe confirming as we kind of figure out ourselves here, but doesn't leave too many players remaining. And still with Minnesota, Paris, the other Los Angeles teams, there's a lot of rosters still to be kind of filled in.
Yeah, Paris and London are going to be interesting too because you have like they are doing like home and home, right? Like right off the bat. So it's like you have guys now that are like kids who have always played here in the States, and now you're saying, okay, you're moving over to Europe. Like that probably plays a huge factor. Like for some people that's probably really cool, right? Like for me, oh, I'll move to Paris. Like that seems interesting, or London. But for some of these people, like that probably could be a huge factor on like what type of player those teams are getting. So that could affect them in the long run in the negative sense. Um,
Yeah, London's getting, I think, a whole Euro roster. Paris is the one that people are trying to keep an eye on because this might be the one that Censor is tied to. If that's the case, it'll be fun to see who wants to team with him or who has no choice but to team with him. So that'll be a roster to keep an eye out on. But yeah, I think we're in for a really fun season. Like this is
I'm
gonna be a
looking forward
bunch of
to it.
new lineups and it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what
I'm
happens.
looking forward. Like I said, I'm on the fence if I want to buy the new Call of Duty right out the gates, but watching them play will probably make me buy it just because
What
I'll be
about
like,
talking about it
this is
right now?
great.
Is this making you want it more a little bit?
What's sad is talking about the game makes me not want it, but talking about the league makes me want to buy it because, like I said, I like playing the pro settings. I hate Call of Duty in its natural state. In its natural state, Call of Duty is one of the worst shooters out there. But pro setting wise and playing like in a pro environment, to
Not
me,
bad.
it is one of the more fun ones. So I just enjoy playing sweaty, I guess. I'm a try hard, is what I'm trying to get at. CSGO had some major roster updates. We'll run through them here real quick. Uh, Guardian returns to Navi. You've been saying
Look,
it forever, Nuge. You
for how
wanted it
long?
to happen. Like,
For how long? I
I
mean,
mean, I
over
would
a
almost say
year.
like a yeah, like about a year at this point. Like you were saying, Guardian just needs to go back to Navi. Like,
He did, and Guardian to me has a lot left into the tank. I think this roster becomes so much more dangerous now. I think Guardian's going to have a new sense of energy coming onto this team. So for me, and then for them to get Blade moving into the coaching role, like somebody that's just been in the game, that's played at a very high level, somebody that simple respects, that Guardian respects. These guys, have an understanding of what he brings to the table. I think this really is going to help elevate Navi. I wish this happened like 6 months ago, but at the same time, I think Guardian is still one of the best operators in the world. And now we have Guardian, who's maybe not as good as he was when he was there initially in his first stint, but still a very good player. But you have Simple, who is still the best player in the world,
right.
um, getting together. And so I'm excited for this just because we've always said, you know, they need a number two. They need a number two. They need some consistency there. Well, hell, on phase, it felt like Guardian sometimes was the only one on that lineup doing something. So I think this is a beautiful fit, and I couldn't be more excited. Really, this is the move that does it for me out of all of these.
Also underrated is coaching moves, right? Like with Blade joining the roster as a coach, meaning Kane left the roster. Kane, the only reason he was on Navi was because Zeus said, "If I'm coming back, I'm bringing the coach from Gambit, or yeah, Gambit." So I mean,
Not a good
like,
look when
what
Zeus
kind?
retires and he gets announced that he is off the team immediately.
Exactly. Like, so that tells you right there, like, Kane had zero voice in the room. Zero. The fact that
Yeah,
as soon as his boy leaves, he's also getting the shown the door. Like, so
agreed.
I think Navi is looking pretty re-energized. I don't want to say like a comeback, but re-energized nonetheless. Keeping in the theme of people coming home, Flusha and Golden returning to Fnatic. Excited about that. It looks cool that they're back. I don't know. I think Counter Strike is always better when Fnatic is there, and they just haven't been. But
I'm happy Flesha is back. I feel like this is an odd spot for Golden because Golden is just kind of getting thrown onto a bunch of rosters right now where if things don't go well, he's like the first one that I would assume gets picked on to change. And not because he's a bad player, like he just hasn't found like the right fit. I don't know if this reunion in my mind is going to go as well as the Navi reunion. I think there'll be moments and flashes of them being good, but I think they needed to get something a little bit more
well,
fresh to go
you
along
know,
with it. So
the issue with that too, though, is like Golden here is on loan from Cloud9, technically, right? He's on loan, so take that for what it was, for what it's worth. But he's also going in as in-game leader, so that also like really. It's a double-edged sword, right? Like on one side, that could be like, well, okay, that's really good if they like you. But at the
yeah,
same time, when things go south, like you said, like not only are you a new guy, but you're also like the in-game leader, which is always the first to be looked like to be replaced.
I do
So
think they have a big sense of faith in Golden though, because that's not
yeah,
the roster that would bring somebody in unless the players have a lot of power on that particular roster.
yeah.
And so, but I think this is a tough spot for Golden because he's just got to prove it quickly with an aging roster. And for me, this is not going to be the best reunion. I see them as kind of staying as that middle of the pack team. And it'll be tough for them to qualify for the next major, I think, with that lineup. Next
We
one has a lot more
yeah.
intrigue to me.
We brought it up last week with Shocks joining Vitality.
Yep. That's a good pickup. Just they needed the extra firepower. NBK's role was not um, a role that he's meant to play in. He's meant to be an in-game leader. That's what he wants to do, I should say. And with Alex really leading that team as of late, there just wasn't much place for him in the way he likes to theory craft the game. And so I think the added firepower is very important here. They were relying too heavily on Zaiwu. They needed to take some pressure off of him. We saw it in the major. We saw it in previous tournaments. If Zaiwu was off, the team lost, and it can't be that way. It cannot be the simple mentality. You know, it's got to be a joint team effort. And so Shock's bringing in the added firepower. If he's willing to listen and play his role, I think this is another really good pickup. I think they have an opportunity to be very dangerous here. You're adding a player that can not get only rifle, but can second op for you, and just brings a lot of experience to the table. So I'm on board with the move as long as Shocks is too.
Uh I'm so nervous to ever say anything about the French scene at this point because it's such a recycled scene, right? Like at one point in time, you've seen Shocks play with some of these guys before. It's just whether or not, like you said, if Shocks feels good about it, like if he comes in with a good attitude and everyone else has good attitude about it, then I could see it working out. But I could instantly see them not having a good attitude and just being like, the only reason you're here is because what other French team are you going to join at this point? So it just depends, I
Counter
guess.
Strike has made me know and learned this forever. I'll teach my kids this one day. Never date a French guy's ex girlfriend. They're always going to get back together. Always. There is
Always.
no chance of them staying separated. These guys have been with each other since they were like 15 years old, and there's really no stopping it. They will eventually find a lineup that works and make a major run again. But I like this lineup. I do like this lineup. It's a strong lineup. Um, Shox is still one of the best players in the world, so hard to knock it.
Hellraisers completely disbands their roster and then decides to build off of Angel, which was on the roster. So like they announced that they disbanded their roster, but they really didn't disband their roster. But that's besides the point. Um, they took a few guys from Vega, a few guys you should never heard of. So we'll see. Props to Hellraisers for making changes and wanting to stay in it. They're one of those, you know, EU teams, CIS teams that
They
they're
find good talent young. They found,
yeah,
you know, Simple was one of the players that they brought on young, and they've always kind of been a dangerous team, but hard for them to be one of the best because of again, region has a big part to do with that. They're not going to get the best players from that
right.
region.
Is it Brokey? Is that how you say that name?
Yeah,
Brokey is
Brokey.
standing in for FaZe, which is another team that's just kind of I mean, all over the place. Like FaZe, Neo is no longer filling in for them. They really don't have a fifth that I've seen.
They don't have a
So
fifth, and they don't have an in-game leader,
yeah,
and they don't want Alexi B because they don't feel like his play style is going to fit well with. And this is from what I'm hearing that his in-game leading style will not fit their play style, so they've opted to not go with him. Go with the younger talent in Brokey, and I guess the Colzera thing. I mean, everyone's still kind of waiting. If you look on Instagram, it looks like Nico and Colzera have been dating recently with the amount of pictures they posted together and the amount of scrims that they're doing and CS that they're playing. So all signs still point to Colzera. Don't have confirmation on it. Brokey, they're looking at this as being like their ROPS pickup, their Stewie 2K pickup, a young, talented player. Will it work? Do they have the time to let it work? Um, we'll see. I think this roster still has other issues. I don't think this fix it
yeah.
for him. But if you add a player like Coldzera and somebody can learn to IGL, you know, the talent is there. They're
And
just
things too, like to keep in mind, like 100 Thieves still has to announce a roster. They've announced that they're coming back to CS, but no word on what roster they're picking up. You've even
probably
seen
be
some
optics.
TSM has said that they were coming back
Yeah.
at some point. Rogue has announced that they're going to pick up a roster. Like there are a lot of
Complexity announced that they were going to pick up a
who is that?
roster. Complexity.
Complexity, yep, announced that they are going to tier
Still
one
nothing
roster.
there.
Nothing.
Like it's been interesting because Jason traveled to Europe and has
So
been very active on Twitter, and he
it's just
said you'd be
something.
shocked at some of the
Yeah.
offers that we've. Well, a direct quote from him is like, he said something. I said direct quote. I'm using his wording. This is what Jason said though. Is essentially you'd be shocked at some of the offers that we've made that these EU players have turned down because they don't want to live in NA. And so he goes, we're doing everything that we can. Trust me, we're throwing a lot of money out. It's not always about the money. This project could take a little bit longer than most people thought. It's not going to be instantaneous turnaround for
Hold up.
complexity.
Did he really say it's going to take longer than what most people thought, or is that your
It's
words?
going to take long. That part was more me than him. Let me
Okay.
see. I can
I was
give you
about to
the
say,
exact
like,
wording.
for a
He did
guy who
mention
tweeted out with as much verbose as he tweeted out, for him to be like, guys, this is gonna take longer than I don't know why you thought this was just gonna be an instant turnaround. Like maybe because you completely called out your team and said you guys suck, I'm replacing you.
so.
Like
This is
that's
the
something that
exact tweet.
happens right away.
After that first part, he goes, at the end of the day, I respect their right to choose and wish them the best. This is talking about EU players staying in EU. He goes, I'm patient. The right roster might take time, but this will happen. But it will happen.
A little bit of change of tone then. Still very awkward though that he's talking about it publicly with an active roster right now. Like so weird. So weird.
Yeah.
It's like going on The Bachelor, but you have a girlfriend. Like she knows that you might be replacing her, but it's gonna take time. It's very, very weird. But you know what? If it all works out, then cool.
God bless him.
Yeah,
Hope it
congratulations.
does.
So there are some of the roster updates in CDL and CSGO. We didn't get to all of them. We're kind of running short on time, but we'll hit it up next week or, just as things go on. It's kind of the joy of
Or
roster mania. It's not a 1 week thing, people. All right. Like just because we didn't get to something now doesn't mean that more drama isn't going to happen later. So let's get into some e-news real quick. CSGO, Valve actually came out and made a statement saying that they don't love exclusivity. Kind of in direct. They might have listened to our podcast. In fact, I think they did. Talking about ESL's and DreamHack's thing last week. But that's all they kind of said. Like they didn't really say don't do it. They just said, hey, we don't like it. So
pretty much just not going to happen for the next one. I'm sure they'll make some sort of rule going into the next major that it.
Yep. So didn't really
Go
hear
TV
anything
is
about
there for a
ESL's
reason.
response to it either. So something time will tell. Though Valve also made a statement that between all the items, the sticker monies, things like that from the Star Ladder Major, payout is going to be over 11 million for the participating teams and players. Surprised by that. Did not know it was going to be so much.
I would still like to see the breakdown of how it works out. I know we won't get that, I don't think, but
no. And that might be team requested, right? Like the teams might not want to see that because then obviously if the sticker money, like if you're not as known team, it might be like, look, let's not have all these other big orgs just kind of whip it out on the table as
and Heaton's over here from Ninja saying, "Hey, no, don't even
don't
tell
show
them.
them the sticker money.
Don't tell them.
We got nothing. No one bought the stickers. No one bought.
They
the
don't know we
stickers.
got sticker money.
Don't worry about it. Some guy ran away. He's in Taiwan with it. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're making chocolate milk. So there's that. ECS announced that they are returning to Arlington, Texas for the Season 8 finals, so we will definitely be there. Gotta love Arlington tournaments at the Arlington Esports Stadium, considering it's like 20 minutes from our house, so that's lovely. So we will definitely be attending that. Plus, ECS was very fun last year. IEM Katowice was announced that they will return for 2020. With a $500,000 prize pool. So there's an announcement no one really needed, other than the fact that it's not going to be a major, which after the ESL DreamHack announcement, don't you think ESL and DreamHack are not ever going to, like, I just assumed that was them taking themselves out of the major run.
For those two events, yeah, you would think so. 'Cause
Right,
they're not,
like they're not gonna make
fine.
they're not gonna make an ECL final also a major. Like Valve
No.
isn't going to do that. I don't know why people were surprised that like it's just whatever. And ESL New York starts this week, so we will discuss that next week, obviously. League of Legends Worlds is approaching, and they have a new sponsorship with Louis Vuitton.
Saw that. It's pretty crazy.
Pretty, I'm interested to see the
Pretty,
merch.
yeah.
Let me see the merch. I might buy some gaudy League of Legends stuff. Why not? I just don't see that blending, but who knows? Who
Gold
knows?
caps for bowl head cuts.
Yeah,
Louis
like I
Vuitton.
can't even say it with a straight face. Like Louis Vuitton and League of Legends. Okay, not really the crowd not the Louis Vuitton crowd, but
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Key caps or something.
Then again, players are walking around with like $1 million Gucci sandals, so who am I to know anything about it? In other news, Coalition Gears. I think I mistyped that, but Coalition Gaming, which is like the developer of Gears of War, and PGL Esports team up for Gears 5 esports program. Gears 5 obviously came out not that long ago, a couple weeks ago. Okay launch from what I can tell, but they're investing $2 million for prize pools for the upcoming season, or circuit, I should say. Pretty cool. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy to remember, like, when I grew up, Rainbow, like, at MLG, it was Halo was the top dog, and Rainbow Six and Gears of War were, like, the stepchild. So it's crazy to see Gears of War getting, like, a $2 million circuit. Like,
just wait. Halo's gonna have some crazy one now, I'm sure.
Of course, but you know it, right? Like, that just it's setting that bar that it just shows how far esports has came along, that if Gears can get a $2 million circuit, it's nuts.
Yeah,
and
it's
the
like
parent,
nothing.
Right. Parent company Overactive Media is shutting down Splice, the brand, as part of their restructuring. Obviously, Splice really didn't. They weren't as involved. Like, they used to be in Counter-Strike. They weren't as much anymore. Obviously, with the CWL, they were kind of active with that. But other than that, you really didn't see them very often. I think they were kind of big in...
They've been kind of dying slowly after they were bought out. These guys weren't like really building on the rosters. This is just more of an announcement to say, hey, this is officially what's happening.
Yeah.
But they've
They're
really
still
been
going to
dying
be
down
around.
there.
It's just the brand itself is not.
Yeah.
So if you were a Splice fan, sorry about you. So I don't think there was a whole lot of you out there, but there you go. That's E-News for you. Let's wrap up the show because I have in approximately 7 minutes to get to an Overwatch match that I have to dominate in. That will just do it for TCR, aka The Centering, aka your favorite esports podcast. 176, it's done, it's in the books. If you watched us live, thank you so much. We stream every show live. Follow us on Twitter to know the updates for that, at The Centering. Join our Discord if you're not there already. What are you doing? Be a part of the conversation. We will be back on Wednesday. We are recording Wednesday. Yes, we are starting 2 episodes a week this week with our Overwatch League preview, our finals preview, that is, because we will be there. So we want to dedicate a full episode to that. That will be on Wednesday, so you'll get that Thursday.
Stay tuned. I think Wednesday we will probably have a fun announcement for y'all to make as well.
Absolutely. So make sure to tune in live for Wednesday night's show, probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock Central PM, of course. That will just do it for us. Again, my name is Tim. For Anuj, we will see you guys next time.